Hello, we are Team 8, and this is our Let's Play on DOWNWELL. DOWNWELL is an 8-bit retro game. It's a roguelike vertically scrolling game developed in 2015 by Ojiro Fumoto and published by Devolver Digital. It was initially released in October of 2015 for iOS and Microsoft Windows and made available in May of 2016 for Android and PlayStation 4. When we first came together as a group, we quickly realized that we had very different gaming backgrounds. The only common ground we were really able to find was mobile gaming. As a group, we decided to choose a mobile game that we could all learn at the same time and play together. We wanted to find something that was relatively simple and entertaining, and after some research, we found that DOWNWELL was not only compatible with all of our devices, but very popular in the gaming community, receiving a 10 out of 10 from Steam. As a group, we were very surprised by the amount of 8-bit retro games like DOWNWELL gaining popularity, and we really wanted to figure out why, especially during a time where high-performance consoles and PCs are so popular. Why now are these retro games beginning to gain traction in the gaming community? Our argument for this recent attraction is due to their simplistic design and nostalgic experience that many people tend to find attractive. DOWNWELL's popularity is proof that video games do not need to conform to what's trending in 8th generation games to catch people's attention. Games such as DOWNWELL are very addictive and prove to be challenging for the player, providing an experience that is very hard for developers to replicate and provide to their consumers these days.
So what does that specific piece of computer jargon, 8-bit, actually mean? And how many of these games deserve to use it when describing themselves? Well, for starters, let's figure out what the term itself means. A bit is one binary value, and as it's either 0 or 1, it has two possible states. 2-bit has 4 possible states, 4-bit has 16, and 8-bit has 256. That's 256 places to store information. Now, developers could be talking about 8-bit color depth. This is when each pixel in an image can be one of 256 different colors from a master palette. It's certainly a retro limitation compared to the millions of colors seen in today's games, but it can describe images that look like this, or like this, and anything in between. That's a broad range of images, and doesn't do all that much to help describe which era of video games the app is trying to ape. It's more likely then that developers and journalists and publishers and players are talking about the 8-bit processors that powered consoles in the early 80s, like the NES, Master System, and ZX Spectrum. The term 8-bit doesn't refer to the graphics specifically, it's more about memory space and info registry and all that gumph.
In order to appreciate our main argument, it helps to understand the mechanics of 8-bit 2D retro games. Today's retro throwbacks tend to focus on the star components of the originals, and these modern retro games have features that allow for better gameplay today in terms of mechanics. There are lower color palettes, less resolution, and the memory requirements needed from your device are far lower than other games. One main attraction to these games seems to be in the simplistic design that allows for focus on character movement and staying alive, and less brain power is redirected to additional quests or strategies while working towards the end result. While many can argue that this is a less than gameplay experience, you cannot argue the attraction people have to retro games today. But why is this? Let's dive in.
Number 3, gameplay focus. Less talk, more rock. This was the main objective behind games of the retro world, exemplifying a simple focus about the gameplay itself, rather than inundating the player with a large amount of backstory and expository dialogue concerning the plot. Instead, many titles of the day simply launched players almost immediately into the action and fun of gameplay, perhaps preferring instead to stimulate the imaginations of the player via the pixelated craziness they might encounter along the way. Indeed, it was almost more fun for fans to discuss amongst themselves the backstories behind such simple characters as Karnov, Rygar, or Pitfall Harry than to have it all laid out for them by the designers.
Like, this is too fast. I'm getting better.
Here we go.
Oh, cool. I didn't know if you fall far enough, you just pull those guys off. Oh, it was there. I didn't know that. It's beautiful. Oh. fine.
What level are you?
Oh, really? I just killed myself
Well,
after getting
I'm
all of
still-
that. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm gonna hit.
Get to a point where you get more lives too. When you play more, and you usually just start at 4. Yeah. You play more obvious. You can buy stuff in this game. This gives you health if you know a health point. That I do not have. Very common. But I don't have enough money to buy it. You gotta destroy enemies or yeah,
I'm getting into the superpower mode.
So the one thing about this game that is the hardest for me is the continuous falling. You also feel, at least I feel, that I need to shoot all the time because you just, as you're falling, you don't have the time to see what's going to happen, and you know something's coming at all times, and so I find that I'm just overusing. Running out of my guns. I always miss. I just missed one of those side things that help you out. There's a lot of fast thinking, and that's what stresses me out so much. Is for how simple it is, you really have to be on top of it to not miss things. And like I'm about to die right now. Those little hidden rooms are really important. And of course, I just died. Oh, cool. So you all just watched how I just got a new palette, the Aqua palette. That's the first time. So if with this game, it's although it's challenging, you still want to play it because when you do finally succeed, it feels really, really good. And you get used to learning how to fall, shoot, not overshoot, use your guns to kind of suspend yourself. But it's definitely challenging for such a simple game, seemingly simple game.
When I first time play the game, I think it is a difficult game for me because when I first time play this, I don't know how to shoot and I don't know where I am in the game. And also I only can do like two things. Keep my hand on the left and the right button and shooting. Yeah, just the two things. And after I played 3 attempts, I found some logically way like how can I get win in the game. And I found interesting things is when boy and girl play the game at first time, the boy always found the logical way to play it, but when girl then will try like follow things hard. So it's very interesting for me, but I think it's a good game. I hope everybody to try it.
When I first played DOWNWELL, I think it's pretty interesting game with good design, and it's really old-fashioned, of course. But after playing the game for several days, I found it's more interesting because it has different functions for players, and you have more choices. Either you want to have a higher speed or attack ability. And everyone has different goals while playing this game. Someone think it's a challenging game because you have to keep shooting and keep yourself away from enemies to get to the higher level. But for me, I think I'm just enjoying the process of shooting, and every time I just feel really relaxing, and it's really a way for me to release my pressure through the game.
Alright, so one thing I just wanted to talk about was some of the stylistic options that DOWNWELL provides. You have a plethora of palettes that you can choose through as you go throughout the game and collect gems. You unlock more. I've played this game for an absurd amount of time and collected over 65,000 gems, so I have 16 palette options. I usually try and go for one with vivid colors just so I can differentiate enemies and stuff like that. And then style select, same thing as the palettes. As you go, you start to unlock more and more that give you different benefits. So the one you start out with is usual style, really has no benefits to it, just normal running dude. Arm spin style, you only find gun modules and shops are much more rare. Boulder style, it's my favorite one. You start with 2 extra health points, but you do have less upgrade options, which is unfortunate, but for a player of my skill that dies very frequently, I'd really appreciate the extra health. This one's kind of nice. It allows you to fall slower, but that's really the only upgrade that it provides. This one just gives you cheaper shop items, so go with this guy. Exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I have 6 lives.
David Heinemann, Assistant Professor of Communication Studies at Bloomsburg University in Pennsylvania, discusses retro gaming and the nostalgia aspect of its appeal. He includes the context of identity and how we derive meaning through relived experiences because they spotlight parts of our formed identities. This easily transcends into an explanation of retro appeal in and of itself. Jennifer Scott, journalist for BBC with a background in the tech industry and politics, discusses not only the nostalgia aspect, but the practicality of it as well. These games play well on our newer systems, have easier start and stop points, can be resumed easily, are easy to learn, and typically cost less.
I find playing a game that has some type of adventure, that offers challenging tasks, are the games I personally find that creates those moments I hold close to myself sentimentally, as I feel I'm surrounded in a new world, full of mystery and exploration, unaware of how to achieve my goal and outside of my comfort zone. But when I finally achieve what I've set out to achieve, it's moments like those that I'm proud of and make for a great story to tell my friends. Which leads me to my next point. Playing games with friends is one of the best ways to experience golden moments. The ability to share a memory with someone else is truly something great. People around my age and older often attach themselves to moments they had long ago, but not really bother to thoroughly enjoy any new experiences they approach. That is completely normal, and I myself am a victim of that, because over time, as we leave our adolescence behind, we leave behind our curious little minds with it, and develop a more wise and critique one, that instead of accepting the environment we're in, we look for the parts of the game that are lacking.
In terms of how the group feels about nostalgia, We definitely agree that there is a strong connection between things that we've experienced in our past, especially during the years when we were forming our identities, and as young children. It's very important. We definitely feel a strong connection not only to the item or the experience, but those who share the same. And it's a way to connect with others. And video games are a great way to do that, especially ones that remind you of a past shared experience. Mario is famous in my life for that, and pretty much the original Nintendo. And it's important for everyone to understand why retro is so important to so many people, because it transcends into why these games are so important and so popular.
In conclusion, we all have attachments to the many stages in our formed identities, whether negative or positive. Many people find the resurgence of retro gaming and retro-style games to be both personal and practical. While many people utilize this appeal differently, the common undercurrent points to the ability to relive pivotal experiences that can also be shared with others.